You have been taught to chase money, to work harder, to struggle longer, to fight for every dollar as if it were running from you. But I tell you tonight, money is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the law of your own thought. The reason wealth feels distant is because your mind has been trained to see lack. You rise each morning counting what you do not have, fearing what might be lost, doubting what you deserve. You call that being realistic. But realism has built more poverty than war ever could. If you understood the true nature of money, you would know it is a servant, not a master. It moves toward direction, away from confusion. It obeys certainty, not desperation. And tonight I will show you how to send out the command that causes wealth to find you. Think of it. Every fortune that has ever been built began in a single invisible act, a thought. Before the gold was mined, before the steel was forged, before the empire was raised, there was a man who believed he could. His belief drew ideas, allies, and opportunity to him as iron is drawn to a magnet. You possess that same power, but until now your mind has scattered its energy between worry, comparison, and fear. You cannot draw riches with a divided mind. You must unify your thought around one clear, burning desire. And that desire must be spoken, felt, lived, every night before sleep until your subconscious accepts it as law. You may ask, how can I possibly attract wealth while I struggle to pay my bills? The answer is simple. Wealth begins in thought, not in your bank account. You must first create the image of abundance so vividly that the world cannot help but reflect it back to you. Tonight, before you close your eyes, I want you to build that image. Picture the life you are destined to live, not the life you endure now, but the one that matches your faith. See yourself living with ease, giving freely, walking without fear. Do not merely imagine it. Feel it as though it were already real. Money follows emotion. It flees from fear. Every time you think of debt, of lack, of what you do not have, you push it away. But when you think from gratitude, faith, and purpose, you become a magnetic field for opportunity. Ideas begin to appear. People begin to appear. Circumstances bend in your favor. You will say, that sounds like magic. It is not magic. It is law. Just as the seed responds to soil and sunlight, your life responds to thought and faith. You cannot plant weeds of doubt and expect a harvest of abundance. You must sow only the thoughts you wish to see made flesh. Do this tonight. Write down your definite chief aim in wealth. Not a wish, not a vague hope, but a command. Write it as though it were already true. I am living in abundance. Money flows to me in every direction. My service brings great value and great reward. Read it aloud before you sleep. Your voice is the instrument that awakens your subconscious mind. And once that mind accepts a command, it begins to act upon it without pause, drawing to you people, ideas, and events in perfect alignment with your statement. You will begin to notice coincidences, chance meetings, sudden ideas. That is not chance. That is the law of attraction through definiteness of purpose. Each night that you do this, you build momentum. Your inner vibration changes. Your actions follow. Your results begin to match your thought. But you must not doubt between affirmations. One seed of disbelief can destroy an entire field of faith. Guard your mind as you would your treasure chest. I have watched men transform their entire fortunes within 90 days of steady faith. Not because money fell from the sky, but because they finally stopped thinking like beggars and began thinking like creators. They replaced anxiety with order, fear with decision, and hesitation with action. You must understand this. Wealth does not come to those who need it. It comes to those who claim it. Need repels, decision attracts. When you think, speak, and act from the conviction that wealth is already yours, every cell in your being becomes a magnet for opportunity. Tonight you will practice this. Sit quietly in the dark and see yourself as the man who has already achieved financial freedom. What does he wear? How does he speak? How does he feel when he wakes each morning knowing he controls his time, his mind, and his destiny? Hold that image until it feels natural. Then, as you drift towards sleep, repeat this truth silently. Money is my obedient servant. It comes to me through faith, service, and definiteness of purpose. Say it again and again until the words are no longer words, they are reality. While you sleep, Your subconscious will begin to align with this new command. It will search your memory, your connections, your surroundings for the means to fulfill it. It will send you ideas that seem too simple to matter, but each one will be a step toward your prosperity. When you wake, act immediately upon the first idea that comes with conviction. Do not delay. Action is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Thought without movement is daydream. Thought backed by decision is creation. If you persist for even 7 nights with faith, you will feel something shift. The same world will look different because you will be looking from a different level of consciousness. Doors that were once closed will open. People who ignored you will suddenly want to help. This is not luck. It is law responding to obedience. But remember this warning. If you attempt this while still doubting, you will gain nothing. The law cannot be fooled by pretense. You must believe as firmly as if you were already rich. The man who acts as if he possesses wealth in thought soon possesses it in form. So tonight, make this your ritual. Do not go to sleep with fear. Go to sleep with command. Speak abundance until your mind accepts it as truth. Give thanks for what you already have and for what is now on its way. Gratitude multiplies all it touches. You are not waiting for wealth. It is waiting for you. It has been circling your life, seeking permission to enter. That permission is granted the moment you stop thinking from poverty and begin thinking from possession. The next time you look at a bill, do not feel burdened, feel power. It is proof that you are trusted by the universe to handle energy in the form of money. The more wisely you handle it, the more will flow to you. Say this to yourself tonight. I am open to receive. I am ready to serve. I am certain that money finds me easily, abundantly, and continuously. Repeat it until you believe it. Believe it until you live it. Live it until you no longer remember what struggle felt like. Because wealth is not a mystery to be solved, it is a state to be assumed. And the man who assumes abundance in thought will inevitably meet it in form. Do this tonight, and watch how quickly money begins to move toward the one who finally commands it. Money does not respond to need. It responds to certainty. Tonight you will become certain, and when you do, you will never again chase wealth, for wealth will be chasing you. There is a hidden law governing every fortune, and it begins not in the bank, not in business, but in the invisible realm of thought. Thought is the foundation upon which all wealth is built. Before gold is mined, before buildings rise, before empires exist, there is always one man, one thought, one burning belief. That belief, held steadily, draws all material substance toward it. Every form of wealth you have ever seen was once an idea that refused to be ignored. When the mind conceives an image of abundance and charges it with faith, it becomes magnetic. It draws circumstance, people, and opportunity into harmony with its vibration. This is not chance. It is the law of mental magnetism. You become what you think about, and what you think about consistently moves toward you. The average man tries to earn wealth through force, through worry, through ceaseless effort. He pursues money as though it were running from him. But the wise man understands that money moves by command, not by chase. It comes to those who think from faith, not those who think from fear. Fear repels. Faith attracts. The difference between a beggar and a builder lies not in opportunity, but in thought. I learned long ago that thought charged with emotion becomes a living power. Cold reasoning produces little. Feeling turns ideas into command. That is why men who dream with passion achieve what logic calls impossible. Henry Ford held an image of a car for the common man long before machinery made it practical. He was told it could not be done. He did not argue. He believed. His faith gathered engineers, resources, and time into obedience. Andrew Carnegie began with no wealth. He thought not of poverty, but of service. He imagined an empire of steel built upon cooperation and vision. That thought, held daily, attracted the minds and means to fulfill it. He once said that any man can rise above circumstance if he fixes his mind upon one aim and burns every doubt in the fire of faith. Thomas Edison was asked after hundreds of failed experiments if he felt defeated. He smiled and said, "I have not failed. I have discovered hundreds of ways that will not work." His thought was richer than gold because it was unyielding. Each failure strengthened his faith. That is the secret. Faith transmuted failure into energy. The subconscious mind, that silent partner of destiny, works through this same law. It is the unseen workshop where thought becomes form. Whatever picture you hold with emotion, the subconscious begins to reproduce. It organizes ideas, influences others, and alters circumstance until the picture is fulfilled. You cannot see it working, but it never sleeps. When a man fills his mind with worry about bills and loss, his subconscious begins to multiply those conditions. It draws more debt, more anxiety, more confusion. The mind is a mirror. It reflects whatever it is shown. If you think from lack, lack increases. If you think from abundance, abundance gathers. Overthinking poverty is the surest way to remain poor. Attention feeds manifestation. You must therefore give your attention only to what you wish multiplied. When thought turns toward gratitude, increase begins immediately. Gratitude is the highest expression of wealth consciousness. The man who gives thanks for what he has aligns with the vibration of more. He is no longer begging, he is commanding. Try this tonight. Before sleep, write one thought of abundance upon paper. It may be as simple as, I am surrounded by opportunity. Money flows to me easily and continually. Read it aloud slowly until you feel it. Then close your eyes and picture wealth as already yours. Let gratitude replace tension. Sleep in that feeling. The subconscious will accept the image as instruction and begin working while you rest. Do not underestimate this act. One clear, emotionalized thought, repeated nightly, will alter your vibration more profoundly than a year of labor without faith. Wealth obeys vibration. When your feeling matches the state of abundance, opportunity moves toward you as surely as iron moves toward a magnet. When I began my studies of the great men of success, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, I discovered one trait common among them. They all believed in invisible law. They spoke to money as if it were alive. They commanded it through definite thought. They expected increase because they lived in expectation, not doubt. Their minds were engines of belief. This is the principle of emotionalized thought, the blending of desire and belief. Desire alone is hunger. Belief alone is theory. But desire fused with faith becomes power. Faith is the spark that animates thought. Emotion is the current that drives it. When you combine the two, you move mountains. Say aloud each day, money obeys my faith. My thoughts command wealth. I am the master of prosperity. Do not merely speak it, feel it. Let the words carry heat. Say them until the mind grows still and accepts them as fact. Those around you will sense the change before you do. They will feel your confidence, your composure. Opportunity will begin to appear as if from nowhere. It will not be chance. It will be your own mental magnetism drawing results into visibility. Remember this truth. Money does not pursue. It is pursued. But it follows the line of least resistance. And that line is always faith. The moment you remove fear and replace it with belief, wealth begins to move. The world rearranges itself to obey the definite mind. There is no mystery here, only law. The same law that draws two magnets together draws men to opportunity. The same force that binds atoms binds wealth to thought. All riches are thought made visible. So tonight, when you lie down, quiet your mind and repeat softly, I am rich in thought, rich in gratitude, rich in purpose. Do not strain. Feel it gently as though you are stating an eternal fact. As you drift into sleep, imagine your life surrounded by ease, by freedom, by service. The subconscious will begin at once to build that picture into form. Wealth is not found, it is allowed. It was always waiting at the edge of your belief, patient for your permission. Now you have given it command, and tomorrow, when you rise, you will rise differently. You will see opportunity where others see obstacle. You will act calmly, decisively. And with each act of gratitude, you will strengthen the magnetic field that draws all you desire. Wealth is not pursuit, it is attraction. It is the shadow cast by definite thought, illuminated by faith. You have learned the first law, the law of mental magnetism. You have learned that money is not your master, it is your servant. That the power to command lies not in toil, but in thought. That gratitude is the lever by which you lift circumstance. And now that your thought is charged with power, we move to the second law, the law of definite demand, where you will learn to instruct this magnetic force with precision, to give wealth its marching orders, and to shape its form with clear, unwavering direction. Before any great fortune was built, there was first a decision. Decision is the root of command. The world does not respond to uncertainty, for uncertainty carries no vibration strong enough to move matter. The universe is obedient, but it obeys only clarity. Every man who has risen from poverty to wealth has done so by establishing one definite aim and holding it until all things conspired to fulfill it. Most men do not fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they think vaguely. Their desires change with the weather. One day they wish for independence, the next they crave security. The subconscious, receiving conflicting instructions, produces only confusion. The law cannot serve two masters. The moment you decide upon a definite goal and refuse to consider its opposite, your mind becomes a magnet of precision. Your thought is the blueprint. Your faith is the builder. If your blueprint is uncertain, the builder cannot proceed. The man who says, "I want wealth someday," gives no instruction to law. But the man who says, "I shall earn this sum by this date through this service," has drawn a plan so definite that even unseen forces begin to align. Decision converts imagination into form. When I studied Andrew Carnegie, I discovered his secret was not merely ambition, but clarity. He knew exactly what he wanted, to build an empire of steel through efficiency and harmony. Every plan, every partnership, every hour of labor served that aim. When asked how he attracted so many capable men, he replied, "They were drawn to the definiteness of my vision. Vagueness repels allies. Clarity attracts them." Henry Ford's first automobile factories were dismissed as folly. Investors withdrew. Experts predicted ruin. Yet Ford refused to waver. He declared that he would build a motor within reach of the common man, and he spoke it so often that even the impossible V8 engine yielded to his will. The engineers who told him it could not be done were told to keep working until it was done. That is definiteness in command. The refusal to recognize limitation as law. Your subconscious is like those engineers. It will resist, argue, and doubt at first. But if you repeat the same clear command daily, it will obey. Each repetition strengthens belief until belief becomes instinct, and instinct becomes reality. Write your command tonight. Choose an amount of money or a condition of wealth that feels both inspiring and believable. State the date by which you will possess it. Then declare the service you will render in exchange. Read this aloud morning and night. The spoken word imprints the subconscious with authority. The man who speaks his aim daily begins to see signs of fulfillment everywhere he looks. Example: by the 1st of December, I will earn $50,000 through the honest use of my talents in service to others. I give thanks for this abundance, for it is already mine. Read this not as a plea, but as a statement of law. The universe does not grant, it reflects. Speak as one who commands, not as one who begs. Decision is not a single act, but a state of mind. To decide means to cut away every alternative. The Latin root of the word decide means to cut off. Once a man decides, all energy that once drifted in confusion becomes concentrated like a beam of light. The moment you cut away doubt, your power multiplies. I recall the story of a young salesman who once sought employment from Carnegie. When told that there were no positions available, he replied, "Then I shall create one." His certainty amused Carnegie, who hired him immediately. That man later became one of the highest paid executives in the company. What created his opportunity? Definiteness of demand. He decided he would work there, and the world rearranged itself to meet his decision. When you decide firmly upon a course, every cell in your body aligns. Hesitation weakens energy. Decisiveness concentrates it. People sense this energy. It appears in your eyes, your posture, your speech. They begin to trust you without knowing why, for definiteness radiates confidence. The uncertain man drains others. The decisive man strengthens them. You must understand that wealth is not earned, it is organized. Organization begins with mental clarity. The mind that knows what it wants becomes the headquarters of order. All external wealth is the reflection of internal order. Therefore, to attract wealth, bring order to thought. Each night before rest, repeat your written goal. As you do, visualize yourself already possessing the wealth described. Feel the security, the joy, the freedom it brings. This feeling transforms your words into power. Words alone are sound. Words felt are law. The subconscious recognizes emotion as command. Guard your mind against contradiction. If you speak abundance at night but think fear in the morning, you neutralize your effort. The law of attraction cannot obey two masters. Choose one reality and think from it until it becomes visible. Faith requires consistency. Let me tell you this truth. Wealth begins not with capital, but with decision. Many men wait for the perfect opportunity, the right investor, the right economy. They forget that opportunity is not found. It is created by decision. Every fortune started with one man saying, "I will." Rockefeller once said, "I always tried to turn every disaster into an opportunity." When others hesitated, he decided. When markets collapsed, he bought. When fear spread, his calm decisiveness turned panic into profit. The world rewards those who think clearly while others tremble. This law of definite demand is the same law that governs all nature. A seed planted in the soil does not wish vaguely to become a tree. It contains within itself a definite plan. It knows what it must become. And because it obeys its inner pattern, the forces of earth and air cooperate to fulfill it. You too possess such a pattern, but you must define it consciously. The mind that knows its aim becomes a living seed of prosperity. Do not ask life for what you think you deserve. Declare what you intend to create. The difference between a wish and a demand is faith. A wish waits for permission. A demand assumes authority. Infinite intelligence responds to assumption faster than supplication. Speak not as a beggar, but as an heir. Now, there are those who will say, "I have decided before, yet nothing came." To them I reply, you did not decide, you only hoped. Hope lacks direction. Decision endures trial. Once you have made a true decision, you cease asking whether it will happen and begin acting as though it already has. The very air around you changes. Others will sense it. They will speak of your luck, though luck is only law disguised. Decision without persistence is stillborn, but persistence without decision is blind. The two must unite. Write your aim, read it aloud, believe it as fact, then act daily in harmony with it. Each act becomes a declaration to the world that your command is law. You will notice that as you practice this nightly ritual, worry diminishes. The mind occupied by a definite goal cannot drift into fear. Confusion feeds anxiety. Direction starves it. The clearer your purpose, the quieter your nerves. Even your sleep will deepen, for the subconscious rests when given a clear task. When I first learned this principle, I tested it. I wrote a definite goal and repeated it for 30 nights. Ideas began to appear, small at first, then larger. I followed each one with faith. Within months, circumstances shifted. It was not chance. It was decision shaping matter. Thought organized energy into form. You may ask, how long must I persist? The answer is simple. Until your faith becomes fact. Do not measure by days or weeks. The law works as fast as your belief allows. Some receive quickly because they expect quickly. Others delay through doubt. Time is not the measure, belief is. Every night as you read your written statement, end with gratitude. Say, I am thankful that this is already mine. Gratitude seals the command. It prevents the mind from slipping into yearning. Yearning says, I want. Gratitude says, I have. The universe obeys gratitude because gratitude is faith completed. As you grow in this practice, others will begin to view you differently. They will sense your calm certainty. Opportunities will come to you without force. What you once chased will now chase you. This is the invisible evidence of law in motion. You are learning that wealth is not a matter of chance, but of obedience to principle. Decision creates the mold. Faith fills it. The clearer your mold, the faster life pours substance into it. Vagueness leaks power. Definiteness condenses it. tonight, before you close your eyes, take your written goal, read it aloud slowly, and feel as though it were already true. Then imagine yourself a year from now living in the very state you have described. See yourself calm, self-reliant, generous. The image you hold with faith will become the image others see. This is how money finds its master, not through chance, but through decision. It flows to those who have spoken their will with clarity and gratitude. It avoids the double-minded man, for the law cannot follow hesitation. So decide now. Cut away every doubt. Burn the bridges of retreat. Command with precision. Act with faith. And the law of definite demand will answer as surely as the seed answers the sun. When you understand this, you will never again wonder where your next opportunity lies. It lies where your decision is planted. And as that decision takes root, it will bear fruit. Others will call it coincidence. You will know it as law. Now that you have learned to command wealth with clarity, you must learn to fuel that command with power. For thought without emotion is a lamp without light. In the next lesson, we shall awaken the force that animates all creation, the law of emotion and faith. There is no power greater in all the universe than emotion joined with faith. Thought without feeling is cold machinery. It turns but creates no spark. Yet the moment you charge a single thought with emotion, when you feel its truth so deeply that the heart trembles, you awaken a living force that moves the unseen world. That is the moment when faith is born, and faith is the only medium through which the infinite answers man. Every man carries two powers within him, the power to create and the power to destroy. Both work through emotion. Fear, doubt, jealousy, and worry are destructive emotions. They paralyze the very energy that could build success. Love, faith, gratitude, and courage are constructive. They expand the field of the mind and draw opportunity as the sun draws growth. You cannot harbor both at once. Each hour you serve one master or the other. Faith and fear are the same force turned in opposite directions. Fear is faith in failure. Faith is belief in order. The same intensity that once built your worry can build your wealth. You must not destroy emotion. You must transmute it. The alchemy of the mind is this: turn feeling from fear to faith, from despair to direction, from doubt to devotion. The law responds not to your words, but to the vibration beneath them. When Edison faced failure after failure, he did not tremble. He believed in light so strongly that darkness could not discourage him. His faith spoke silently to the forces of nature until they yielded. When Rockefeller watched markets crumble, he did not join the panic. He stood calm, certain that order would reappear. That calmness was not mere temperament. It was trained emotion. It was the power of faith directing feeling. You may have thought that calmness is the absence of feeling. It is not. It is feeling mastered, emotion organized, energy tamed. When you train your emotions to obey thought, you no longer move by reaction. You move by command. The man who controls his emotional energy controls his world. Imagine for a moment your mind as a great electric plant. Thought is the machinery. Emotion is the current that runs it. Without current, the plant stands idle. But if the current surges wildly, it burns the circuits. Faith is the regulator. It channels emotion into useful power. Without it, fear and doubt cause mental short circuits that dim every plan. The subconscious mind is always listening, not to the surface words you speak, but to the emotion behind them. When you say, "I will be rich," while feeling anxious, the subconscious hears only the fear and obeys accordingly. But if you speak that same phrase with faith and gratitude, it becomes an order to the universe. The subconscious cannot resist emotion. It is designed to act upon it. This is why autosuggestion, repetition of faith-charged words, becomes the greatest instrument of change. You do not hypnotize the world. You instruct yourself. You impress belief until it becomes instinct. Speak your affirmations not as a chant, but as command. Do not ask for wealth. Declare it as a truth unfolding. Each night before you rest, spend 5 minutes imagining yourself already in possession of the wealth you desire. See it vividly. Feel the freedom of it. Experience the peace that comes when the burden of worry is gone. Let your heart swell with gratitude until it seems as though you could not hold more. That feeling is the key. It is faith made flesh. The wise man does not wait for evidence before he believes. He believes until evidence appears. The fool says, "I will believe when I see." The master says, "I will see because I believe." This difference in order determines destiny. The law of faith rewards those who plant belief before harvest. Carnegie once told me that his greatest asset was not his factories or his fortune. It was his ability to believe in men and in purpose beyond reason. He said, "The world gives to the man who believes in it," and it does. When your heart is filled with faith, people feel it. They are drawn to it as travelers are drawn to light. Faith is not loud. It does not argue or boast. It is calm, steady, and sure. It does not beg. It knows. When others panic, faith whispers, "All is in order." It is this invisible composure that transforms ordinary men into leaders. You cannot fake faith. You either live it or betray it. Begin with gratitude. Gratitude is faith in motion. When you give thanks for blessings unseen, you are already practicing creation. Each thank you spoken from the heart releases fear. Gratitude converts emotion into constructive rhythm. The thankful heart cannot worry. It is too busy receiving. You may say, "But how can I feel faith when I see only lack?" You must first understand that what you see is only the echo of past thought. Today's condition is yesterday's belief made visible. To change the visible, you must first command the invisible. Feel now what you wish to see later. Practice this each night. Sit in stillness and breathe slowly. On each breath, repeat quietly, "I am calm, I am rich in thought, I am blessed now." As you do, let gratitude spread through your body like warmth. This is not imagination, it is preparation. The subconscious accepts these impressions as blueprints and begins its silent work. In a few days, you will notice that worry loses its grip. Situations that once disturbed you seem smaller. You act more deliberately. This is evidence that your emotional energy has shifted from chaos to command. The inner calm you cultivate will soon appear as external order. It is impossible to remain poor in spirit and rich in result. The world reflects the dominant tone of your feeling. If you feel doubt, you will meet obstacles. If you feel faith, you will meet doors that open. As within, so without. The vibration of emotion shapes the condition of life. Repeat these affirmations aloud when you rise and when you retire. I feel wealth within me. My faith builds fortune. My calmness is command. Speak them until they no longer sound like hope, but like identity. Faith is not belief in word. It is belief in law. The farmer who plants seed has faith that harvest will come though months of darkness pass. The engineer who designs a bridge has faith in principles unseen. So too must you have faith in this invisible law, that thought plus emotion equals creation. I have seen men transformed entirely by this understanding. One merchant, burdened by debt, began each night to imagine himself free. He thanked life for abundance, though his accounts were empty. Within weeks, unexpected opportunities arose. He told me later, "I simply began to act like a man who trusted the law." That was enough to move fortune in his favor. When your emotions serve your faith, you no longer react to circumstance, you direct it. Calmness becomes your shield, gratitude your weapon. When others are swayed by markets or gossip, you remain composed. People will ask what changed. They will not see the inner cause, only the outer result. This is why the disciplined emotional life leads to influence. The man of faith becomes magnetic. Others trust his quiet certainty. Employers sense reliability. Investors sense security. Partners sense vision. Faith radiates. You do not advertise it, it announces itself. Yet remember, emotion must be trained daily. It will rebel at first. Fear will whisper its old stories. Doubt will knock at the door. But each time you replace them with faith, you strengthen new habits. In time, faith becomes your default state. Then peace becomes permanent. Do not mistake this calm for passivity. Faith does not mean sitting idle. It means acting without tension, working without worry, serving without fear. When your actions arise from faith, they move with grace. Energy flows through you rather than against you. This efficiency is the hallmark of every great man. Lincoln once said that calmness was his greatest weapon. During the war, while others raged and argued, he paused, reflected, and decided. His faith in divine order guided him through chaos. It was this poise under pressure that turned crisis into victory. You too can cultivate that composure. Begin with this daily practice. When confronted with fear, pause. Take one breath and ask yourself, what would faith do here? Then act accordingly. Each such moment adds strength to your character. Emotion, when directed by faith, becomes genius. It fuels inspiration, persistence, and magnetism. It turns words into conviction, effort into results. Without it, even the finest plans decay. Faith is the soul of success. Emotion is its heartbeat. As you continue this work, others will notice that your very presence brings calm. You will find that even in moments of uncertainty, you cannot be shaken. That stability will make you indispensable to others. They will come to you for counsel, for partnership, for leadership. This is how faith creates tangible wealth. It makes you valuable, first in thought, then in the marketplace. People will trade money for your composure, for your reliability, for your steady belief in their vision. Faith, expressed through emotion, multiplies income because it multiplies trust. And remember, repetition deepens faith. Each night's practice builds upon the last. There is no wasted effort. Just as a blacksmith strengthens steel by striking it repeatedly, so do you strengthen faith by daily declaration. Now you have learned that thought creates and that decision commands, but emotion gives both wings. Without feeling, the machine of thought cannot move. With faith, it becomes unstoppable. As you retire tonight, let peace be your final emotion. Feel gratitude for what is and for what is coming. Whisper your affirmations until sleep takes them into the subconscious. The night is your silent ally. It will weave those impressions into destiny. Tomorrow, you will awaken lighter, calmer, more certain. And soon you will realize that faith is not a thing to build once. It is a flame to tend forever. Now that your thought is alive with emotion and anchored in faith, you must give it motion in the world. In the next lesson, we turn belief into visible creation through the law of action and obedience. Faith, no matter how strong, must one day walk. A thought, no matter how clear, must one day move. Action is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the passage through which faith becomes flesh. Without action, belief decays into wishful thinking. But with action, even the smallest seed of faith can move mountains. This is the law of action and obedience, and every man who has ever risen from obscurity to wealth has obeyed it completely. It is not enough to think rightly. You must act rightly. The world pays no man for his intention. The law rewards movement. You may hold the perfect plan within your mind, but until you set it in motion, the law cannot multiply it. The infinite responds not to idle dreams, but to the footsteps of decision. When you act with faith, you declare to the universe that you are ready to receive. I have studied men of every walk of life, laborers, inventors, financiers, and I have seen that all who achieve great riches share one quality. They obeyed their plan daily, whether they felt inspired or not. They acted while others doubted, persisted while others delayed, and labored with cheerfulness even when results were not immediate. That steady obedience is the mark of greatness. Andrew Carnegie began his career as a telegraph boy. He did not complain of his lowly station. He mastered it. Each message he delivered, he treated as preparation for leadership. His diligence drew notice. In time, opportunity found him because his faith had been proven through obedience. He did not demand promotion. He attracted it. Every task done well is a magnet for higher trust. Henry Ford's first machines broke. His investors fled, and his competitors mocked him. Yet he kept building. When told that his plan for the V8 engine was impossible, he simply replied, "Produce it." For 2 years, his engineers failed, and for 2 years he commanded them to continue. His decision never wavered. Eventually, they succeeded, not by chance, but by the power of persistent obedience. This is the rhythm of wealth. Think clearly, feel deeply, and then act consistently. The law will not serve a man who prays for gold but refuses to lift a hand. Faith without obedience is like a ship without wind. It cannot move. The moment you act upon your definite purpose, invisible hands begin to assist you. Action has a secret nature. It transforms the actor. Each step taken in faith builds self-respect. Self-respect builds confidence. Confidence multiplies power. Soon you are no longer chasing wealth. You are radiating it. Men are drawn to those who move with conviction. The man who acts with certainty commands more faith from others than 1,000 who merely speak of their dreams. You must understand this clearly. Hesitation is poverty in motion. Every time you delay an inspired idea, you teach your subconscious that you do not trust it, and it will obey. The next idea will come weaker, the next opportunity smaller, until your faith withers through neglect. But if you act promptly, you tell the subconscious, I am ready. Then ideas come more often, opportunities grow larger, and you begin to live in a stream of divine cooperation. When fear whispers, what if I fail? Answer, what if I succeed? The risk of action is nothing compared to the cost of inaction. Failure can instruct. Inaction only decays. Every fortune stands on a mountain of corrected mistakes. Edison said, I never failed once. I simply found 10,000 ways that did not work. Every so-called failure was a rung on the ladder of obedience. You must train your mind to see action as prayer. Every purposeful deed sends a message to infinite intelligence. I am a faithful steward. The universe entrusts more to those who use what they have. The man who buries his talent through fear finds even that taken away. But the man who multiplies it, no matter how small, opens the floodgates of increase. Do this nightly. Before you sleep, list one act you will perform tomorrow in harmony with your definite aim. Then, the next day, do it. However small, however trivial, complete it with precision. Each act of follow-through strengthens your faith. This simple obedience builds a rhythm of success. In a week, you will feel it. In a month, you will see it. In a year, it will have transformed you. The world honors those who can be relied upon. When you keep your word, even in private, you gain authority. The man who obeys his own plan commands respect without asking for it. Others sense it. They will begin to trust your promises, follow your leadership, and mirror your discipline. That invisible authority is the forerunner of wealth. Persistence is faith in motion. Many begin, few continue. The difference between success and failure often lies in the 10th attempt. The mind that refuses to quit gains an almost magical power. Obstacles melt before sustained effort, just as ice yields to steady warmth. The man who persists transforms impossibility into routine. Andrew Carnegie once told me, the hardest part of success is to begin. After that, persistence becomes habit. He was right. Begin today. Take the first action toward your purpose before another hour passes. Once you act, momentum will carry you. The mind at rest breeds fear. The mind in motion breeds faith. Action has a compounding power. One good act creates confidence for the next. Each completed task multiplies energy. Success is not a single grand strike. It is the accumulation of thousands of small obediences. Every letter written, every sale attempted, every plan reviewed adds unseen interest to your account with the law of increase. You may not see results at first. That is no cause for doubt. The seed buried in the soil shows no sign of life for many days. Yet below the surface, roots are forming. So too with your actions. The law is preparing your harvest unseen. To quit now would be to uproot the seed before it flowers. Let this be your declaration. I will persist until I prevail. I will obey my purpose until life obeys me. Say it each morning before work. The repetition builds endurance. When fatigue arrives, repeat it again. Faith grows through obedience, strength through repetition. You are training the mind to serve you as faithfully as your hand obeys command. Each act done with faith becomes sacred. Do not despise the small task. Greatness hides within detail. Edison's empire was built upon a single filament perfected through thousands of trials. Ford's fortune began with one machine improved day by day. The man who masters small duties is preparing for large ones. There will be days when progress feels invisible. Do not trust appearances. The laws of success operate beneath the surface, beyond sight. If you remain steadfast, their effects will burst forth when least expected. Wealth often comes suddenly to the man who has prepared quietly for years. The world calls it luck. The wise call it obedience rewarded. When fatigue or doubt visit, remember this principle. The man who endures difficulty without complaint doubles his power. Resistance strengthens the muscles of the soul. Every challenge faced with faith becomes a tool sharpened for greater service. The test of endurance is the proof of readiness. Action not only builds wealth, it builds peace. Idleness feeds anxiety. Purposeful work dissolves it. The overthinker suffers because he acts too little. The moment he begins to serve, to create, to move, his mind grows quiet. He no longer drifts in theory. He lives in direction. Peace is not found in rest, but in rhythm. Each evening, review your day. Ask, did I act on my faith or did I postpone it? If you delayed, forgive yourself and resolve to obey tomorrow. If you acted, give thanks. Gratitude for completed duty strengthens discipline. You will begin to feel a strange joy in obedience itself. For the mind loves order as the lungs love air. Understand this truth. Obedience to purpose is freedom. The drifter believes freedom lies in doing what he pleases. The master knows freedom lies in doing what is right. Discipline does not restrict. It releases power. The man who keeps his word gains control over himself, and self-control is mastery. In time, this rhythm of obedience becomes effortless. You no longer battle yourself. You move naturally toward success. Action flows like breath. Each day builds upon the last. Opportunities multiply. People begin to say you are lucky, unaware that luck is merely law in harmony with faith. Service is the highest form of action. Render more than you are paid to render. Give more value than expected. Each time you do, you open a new channel for abundance to return. Carnegie called this the habit of going the extra mile. It is the surest road to riches because it multiplies goodwill and trust. Currency is more valuable than gold. When you serve from faith, money follows naturally. But if you serve only for money, your energy loses purity. Work as though every task were a prayer of gratitude. The man who blesses his labor blesses his future income. Faith turns ordinary effort into sacred action. As your obedience grows, your fears will fade. The disciplined man cannot be shaken by circumstance. He acts from principle, not impulse. Others will look to you as a steady light in uncertain times. They will call upon you for guidance, for partnership, for leadership. And each connection will carry prosperity in its wake. Wealth does not come to those who wait. It comes to those who move. The law rewards momentum. Begin now. Act even when you feel unprepared. Life meets the moving man halfway. Doors that remain locked to hesitation open instantly to persistence. Remember, the law never fails. Action completes the circuit of faith. Thought without action is like electricity without contact. It illuminates nothing. The moment you act, the current flows and life lights up. Do this each day. Before rest, decide upon one act of obedience for the morning. Upon waking, perform it before doubt can speak. Keep a journal of your daily obedience. Within weeks, you will see patterns of progress. The scattered fragments of your effort will form a straight line toward success. You are now learning to command not only thought and feeling, but movement. You have discovered that faith, when acted upon, transforms the invisible into the inevitable. And once you master the rhythm of obedience, you will find that the law of wealth continues beyond effort. For there is a higher law, the law of receiving and circulation, where giving and gratitude sustain the flow of abundance endlessly. Let us move toward that law next, where you shall learn how to keep the river of prosperity forever in motion, never stagnant, never exhausted, always flowing, always returning multiplied. There is a sacred rhythm that governs all of life, the rhythm of giving and receiving. It is the pulse of the universe, the heartbeat of wealth. All abundance depends upon this law. The sea gives its waters to the sky returns them as rain, and the rivers flow again to the sea. So too must money, opportunity, and energy circulate. When man obstructs this rhythm through fear, he dams the very river that was meant to enrich him. The miser is the poorest of all men, for though his coffers are full, his soul is barren. He imagines security in hoarding, yet by clutching he stops the current that would have carried tenfold increase. Money, like blood, must move. The moment it ceases to flow, decay begins. The wise understand this. You cannot outgive the law. Whatever you give with faith, returns magnified. Andrew Carnegie once said that wealth that does not circulate becomes a curse. When his own fortune grew beyond measure, he made it his duty to give it back in libraries, universities, and foundations that outlived him. He understood that money is energy. Its value lies not in possession, but in its service. When he gave, his influence multiplied. He died rich in peace, for he obeyed the rhythm of law. Rockefeller learned this same principle in times of crisis. When markets crashed and panic spread, others clutched their remaining coins, but he invested in men and progress. His faith in circulation brought him greater returns than all the hoarders combined. Money gravitates toward those who keep it in motion. The law of circulation operates by faith, not fear. When you spend from gratitude, you increase what remains. When you give from worry, you diminish it. The emotion behind each transaction determines its spiritual value. $1 given with joy carries greater power than 1,000 given in resentment. Life reads the spirit, not the sum. Every morning, declare this truth to yourself. I give freely, I receive abundantly. Money serves me through law. Let the words sink beyond intellect into feeling. Believe that the universe is not a place of depletion, but of infinite increase. The farmer does not weep when he gives his seed to the ground. He rejoices, knowing that nature will multiply his offering. So must you think of every act of giving as sowing, not losing. To live in harmony with this law, you must abandon the belief that wealth is finite. There is no shortage of opportunity, no ceiling upon creation. The same infinite intelligence that filled the oceans with water and the heavens with stars can fill your life with abundance. Scarcity exists only in the mind that withholds. You have been trained by the world to fear loss, but loss is illusion. Nothing given in faith is ever gone. It changes form and returns at the appointed time. The businessman who pays his workers well enriches his own enterprise. The family that gives warmth and kindness receives it multiplied in their children's strength. Each generous act builds invisible capital in the bank of law. Try this. Each night before sleep, list 3 ways you gave value during the day. They need not all be monetary. Perhaps you offered patience where anger was expected, or encouragement where silence would have sufficed. Then, each morning, list how you intend to give again. This simple discipline builds the rhythm of abundance into your mind. When you give more than you are paid to give, you create an invisible surplus account with the universe. The law must balance it, and it pays interest beyond your imagination. Those who serve with excellence are never in want, for they are aligned with infinite supply. Wealth chases those who over-deliver, because the universe loves balance. Carnegie built this principle into his philosophy of success. He advised every man in his company to render more service than expected, saying, "Do your work so well that others must reward you." Those who followed that rule rose to greatness. Those who did not remained laborers. The difference was not in opportunity, but in obedience to law. The law of increase states that every act of appreciation multiplies its source. When you speak gratitude for your income, your customers, or your job, you magnify them. When you complain, you diminish them. Gratitude is the golden lever that lifts every circumstance. A thankful mind is never poor because it lives in the vibration of wealth. Think of money as your servant, not your master. Command it with faith, and it will obey. When you receive it, bless it. When you spend it, send it forth with gratitude, knowing it will return bearing friends. Money has no morality of its own. It mirrors the consciousness of its holder. In wise hands, it blesses. In fearful hands, it burdens. Do not despise the small income or the modest opportunity. Every stream leads to the ocean. The man who manages little with gratitude prepares himself to manage much. The law promotes only those who prove faithful in small things. Each transaction, no matter how trivial, is a test of consciousness. Treat every coin as sacred energy in motion. Generosity is the highest proof of wealth consciousness. You cannot give what you do not believe you possess. The act of giving declares, "I have more than enough." That declaration reshapes your reality. The miser says, "I cannot afford to give," and he never can. The generous man says, "I can always afford to serve," and abundance answers his call. The poor man of spirit waits to be rich before he gives. The rich man gives to prove his wealth. This is the secret. Giving precedes receiving. You must become the cause of the abundance you desire. If you would attract money, be the source of value. If you would attract friendship, be the source of goodwill. The world cannot withhold from its own reflection. There is no wasted gift given in faith. You may not see immediate return, but the law records all. Like the farmer's seed, it germinates unseen. In due season, the harvest comes, often from directions you never expected. The law never forgets. It multiplies in perfect measure. When you begin to live by this law, others will notice that you no longer speak of lack. Your confidence will appear as calm assurance. People will trust you more readily, sense your integrity, and open their hearts to your leadership. Wealth follows reputation. Reputation follows generosity. The man who gives sincerely never lacks allies. Beware of the spirit of complaint, for it strangles increase. The complainer denies his own blessings and shuts the door on future ones. Replace every complaint with gratitude. If you must speak of lack, speak only to transform it into lesson. What you bless expands. What you curse contract. Understand that the law of circulation is not merely economic, it is spiritual. Energy, love, service, kindness, money, all obey the same rhythm. What you send forth determines what returns. The miser may accumulate coins, but he dies impoverished in spirit. The giver, though he parts with gold, lives surrounded by invisible wealth. Practice silent giving. There is power in the gift that expects no applause. Give without announcement, without witness, and you will feel a joy no audience could grant. That joy is the signature of law acknowledging your obedience. Each unseen kindness multiplies in the secret places of your life. When Rockefeller built universities, he did so not for glory, but for continuity. He understood that wealth must outlive its owner, or it will vanish. Build something that blesses beyond your years, a foundation, a scholarship, a habit of service. The legacy of circulation is immortality. Every act of giving refines the soul. The hands that open to give remain open to receive. The closed fist may protect its coin, but it cannot grasp opportunity. Let go, and law will fill your hands again. Hold too tightly, and even what you have slips away. As you practice this rhythm, your relationship with money will transform. Bills will no longer feel like burdens. They will become proof that you are trusted to circulate wealth. Pay them gladly. Each payment keeps the river flowing. Say quietly, "I am thankful for this exchange." It blesses both giver and receiver. You will notice that new sources of income appear soon after. Make generosity your reputation. Be known as the one who gives more, serves more, forgives more. Soon others will seek your company. Businessmen will want your partnership. Friends will want your counsel. Life itself will want your presence. Abundance follows the man whose spirit enriches every environment. When you understand circulation, you lose all fear of loss. You see that nothing truly belongs to you. It moves through you. You are not an owner, but a custodian of divine flow. The more faithfully you release it, the more freely it returns. This realization is liberation. Say aloud each night, "I give freely. I receive joyfully. Money flows to me and through me in endless rhythm." Feel the truth of it until it quiets the last echo of fear. You will wake lighter, as though some invisible burden has been lifted. That is the spirit of poverty leaving you. There is no greater sign of mastery than calm generosity. The calm giver has conquered fear. He knows that the law of increase works without failure. Even in apparent loss, he smiles, for he knows that return is already in motion. Faith sees circulation as a promise, not a gamble. Wealth, like the tides, rises and recedes, but always returns with greater strength to those who trust its rhythm. You cannot save your way to riches. You can only circulate your way to it. Every act of wise giving expands your field of prosperity. Now, you have learned to think as a magnet, to command with definiteness, to feel with faith, and to act with obedience. You have now learned to release with gratitude, but the circle of mastery is not yet complete. To keep wealth alive, you must also grow daily in wisdom and reflection. In the next lesson, we shall learn the final law, the law of perpetual growth and reflection, where you will see that the richest man is not he who hoards gold, but he who renews himself in mind and spirit each day, learning, listening, and giving again. For only he who grows forever remains rich forever. Every seed that ceases to grow begins to die. Every mind that stops learning begins to decay. The same law that governs nature governs wealth. Continual renewal sustains life. Stagnation breeds decline. The law of perpetual growth and reflection is the crowning law of prosperity, for it ensures that riches once attained will never be lost. Without growth, fortune fades. With reflection, it multiplies endlessly. There are many who earn riches but cannot hold them. They work feverishly to rise, then fall when complacency sets in. Their wealth outgrows their wisdom, and soon it returns to the flow from which it came. The true millionaire is not one who possesses money, but one who has mastered growth of mind. For it is the mind alone that can keep pace with the law of expansion. The world changes, yet the thinking man is always new. Wealth responds to order, and order is born from reflection. Each night, the wise man reviews his day not with regret, but with inquiry. He asks, "What did I learn? Where did I drift? How may I improve tomorrow?" This nightly communion with self is the workshop of mastery. 1 hour of reflection yields more progress than 10 of labor without thought. Labor builds, reflection refines. Ford once said that failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. He did not fear mistakes because he used them as teachers. When his factories faltered, he studied their cause, corrected their waste, and emerged stronger. That is the essence of perpetual growth. To meet error, not with shame, but with curiosity. The man who fears to look upon his faults hides from his own greatness. Andrew Carnegie spent his final years studying men, not markets. He said, "My riches are not in steel, but in understanding how men think." That understanding made him wealthy long after he left industry, for he grasped that money follows wisdom as shadow follows light. To think deeply, to learn daily, to study without pride, these are the practices that preserve fortune. Each day, set aside a few minutes to study success as you would study Scripture. Read the great books again and again until their words become your own thought. Truth is not mastered in a single reading. It is absorbed through repetition. Every return to wisdom reveals new depth because the reader himself has changed. You are never the same man twice, and therefore the same book teaches you anew each time. I have read the words of great thinkers, Emerson, Franklin, Lincoln, and the sages of ancient time, and I found that they all agree on one point. Learning is not a stage of life, but the very essence of living. The man who learns daily never grows old. His mind remains young, his spirit fertile, his ideas evergreen. The day he ceases to learn, his wealth, his influence, and his joy begin to wither. Let your mornings begin with renewal of thought. Before the world intrudes, read one passage of truth or write one reflection of gratitude. 10 minutes of conscious learning each morning will do more to secure your fortune than hours of toil done in blindness. You are not merely a worker of tasks, you are a builder of consciousness. Wealth is not sustained by cleverness alone. It requires harmony between mind and law. Reflection is the mirror that shows where harmony falters. Each night, as you lay your head to rest, review the 5 laws you have studied: thought, demand, emotion, action, and circulation. Ask yourself, did my thoughts today command or complain? Did I act from decision or drift? Did I give more than I received? Each honest answer becomes a key that unlocks new strength. The subconscious mind loves rhythm. When you reflect at the same hour each day, you train it to expect instruction. Over time, it begins to present solutions before you ask. You will wake with new ideas, sudden inspirations, or the quiet certainty of next steps. These are not accidents. They are answers from the infinite to the obedient mind. Reflection not only sustains growth, it multiplies it. Every discovery made in silence becomes a seed for action. Each realization, once recorded, becomes a tool for future creation. Keep a journal of your lessons. Record not merely what you did, but what you learned from it. The man who documents his evolution builds a library of wisdom that his children may inherit. That is the truest legacy, a wealth of understanding passed through generations. Carnegie once told his associates that every man should keep a ledger of his mind. He meant that mental inventory is as vital as financial accounting. You cannot measure profit if you do not count what you gained in thought. At the end of each week, take stock. How has your character improved? Which habits have you strengthened? Which errors have you corrected? Mental bookkeeping keeps your life in balance. Do not fear stillness. Many believe that success demands constant motion, but motion without reflection becomes chaos. The calm hour of solitude refuels the spirit. The man who never stops to think becomes like a machine that runs until it breaks. Reflection is maintenance of the mind. Through it, you renew your strength without restlessness. Edison often walked alone in the night, thinking upon problems silently. He said the best ideas arrive when the mind is still enough to hear them. The same stillness that restores peace also gives birth to invention. Within quiet thought lies the voice of infinite intelligence, waiting to whisper solutions that noise conceals. Gratitude must accompany growth, for gratitude keeps ambition pure. Ambition without gratitude becomes greed. Gratitude without ambition becomes stagnation. Together, they form balanced expansion, the desire to increase while honoring the source of increase. Each night, thank life for what you have learned and for what you shall learn tomorrow. Gratitude opens the gate of the subconscious and invites more wisdom to enter. You must understand this clearly. The wealth you accumulate externally is only a shadow of the wealth you build internally. Money will ebb and flow, but understanding once gained remains. If you lost all possessions tomorrow, you could rebuild, for your mind would still hold the pattern of prosperity. That pattern is formed through daily learning and reflection. Many men fall when fortune comes suddenly because their minds have not expanded to match their wealth. Their fortune outgrows their philosophy, and they crumble beneath their own success. But the man who grows inwardly as his riches grow outwardly remains unshaken. His character becomes the foundation upon which even greater prosperity stands. Learning refines desire. In youth, men chase wealth blindly. In wisdom, they attract it purposefully. The student of life learns to replace greed with mastery, competition with creation, anxiety with faith. Each day of reflection polishes the mind until it becomes a clear mirror for infinite intelligence to work through. As you study great works, read slowly. Do not rush to finish. Dwell on each idea until it awakens an image or a feeling. Then close the book and think. Thought is digestion for the mind. Without it, reading becomes waste. One page studied deeply is worth more than 100 skimmed in haste. When you hear a great speech or teaching, listen not merely to the words, but to the spirit behind them. Listen again days later and again after months. Each hearing will reveal new layers, for truth deepens with repetition. The man who revisits wisdom never grows dull. He is sharpened continually by the whetstone of reflection. Teach others what you learn. The surest way to remember a principle is to share it. When you explain truth to another, it becomes fixed in your own mind. This is why every master was once a teacher. Give freely of understanding, and understanding will give freely to you. Do not separate spiritual and practical knowledge. They are one. The laws that build character build fortunes. Honesty, diligence, gratitude, and vision are not moral luxuries. They are economic necessities. The market trusts integrity as much as skill. Reflection keeps the two united, ensuring that growth remains balanced. At the end of each week, perform what I call the review of dominion. Ask 3 questions. What did I create? What did I learn? What did I correct? Write the answers. This exercise reveals patterns of progress invisible to memory. You will see your thoughts refine, your habits strengthen, your faith deepen. That is the true record of wealth. Understand that peace of mind is not a byproduct of success. It is success itself. Without peace, riches are chains. With peace, even modest means bring contentment. The man who learns to keep his inner world ordered will find his outer world reflecting that harmony. Reflection brings this order. No mastery is ever complete. Each new level of achievement demands greater understanding. The student of success knows no graduation. His learning continues until his final breath. That is why he never fears decline. He is always becoming. Change is his ally, not his enemy. Ford in his later years said that the moment a man stops improving his product, he begins to lose it. The same applies to thought. Keep refining your ideas. Keep polishing your methods. Never say, I know enough. The world moves forward, and the mind that stands still will soon be left behind. Let humility accompany your growth. Knowledge without humility turns to arrogance, and arrogance blinds. The wise man learns even from his enemy, even from his failure. He sees every experience as material for building wisdom. No event is wasted upon the mind that reflects. Growth demands rhythm between learning and rest, between silence and speech, between action and reflection. Excess in either leads to imbalance. The thinker who never acts becomes a dreamer. The worker who never thinks becomes a drudge. The law rewards the one who alternates both. Think, act, reflect, refine. Reflection also protects you from drifting. The drifting man moves without purpose, forgetting who he is and why he acts. Each evening of reflection anchors him again in his definite aim. It reminds him that his thoughts have power, that his choices matter, that his faith directs his future. Teach this habit to your children. Let them see you studying, thinking, and writing. Let them hear gratitude in your speech. You will give them a legacy far greater than gold, the habit of self-improvement. Gold can be spent. Wisdom multiplies. The habit of reflection saves time as surely as faith saves energy. Many waste years repeating errors they never examined. The reflective man learns his lesson once and moves on. Thus, in 1 decade, he achieves what others fail to in a lifetime. This is how reflection saves 10, 20, even 30 years of wandering. It compresses experience into wisdom. When you look back upon your journey, measure not the wealth you gained, but the understanding you earned. Each lesson mastered shortens the distance to your next success. You will find that all difficulties served as teachers, all delays as preparation, all failures as refinement. At last, reflection brings gratitude, and gratitude brings peace. When you see your past not as error, but as education, resentment dissolves. You realize that nothing was wasted. Every trial shaped you into the vessel capable of holding abundance. Gratitude completes the circle of law. Now you know the final truth. Perpetual growth is perpetual wealth. The man who studies, reflects, and renews himself daily will never be poor, for he draws from an infinite source. His riches cannot be measured by coin alone, for they consist of clarity, peace, and power. Say each night before rest, each day I grow wiser, each night I grow calmer. Learning multiplies my wealth. Feel it as you drift into sleep. The subconscious will take this as command and ensure that tomorrow brings new light. Remember this always. Knowledge unreflected is half learned, and wealth unshared is half earned. Study daily, reflect nightly, give often, grow forever. For the mind that grows in gratitude cannot wither, and the soul that learns in faith cannot fail. When you wake tomorrow, rise as a master renewed. Your thoughts will be richer, your words surer, your heart steadier. You will move through life as one who understands the rhythm of increase, the rhythm that begins in thought, flows through faith, expresses in action, circulates through service, and returns through reflection. This is the complete circle of success. This is the eternal law of wealth. You are now ready to live it.